So I finally finished reading the Odyssey. It was quite a challenge, but I got through it, and since there is a new movie coming up soon that is quite controversial for some people, it's a perfect time for a chill review and to discuss the story. And by the end of this video, you will find out how the Odyssey differs from your usual book, is it even worth reading, and if it is, whether you're the type of person who will enjoy it. So first of all, what's so special about the Odyssey? Well, it's unlike your usual novel because, well, it's not a novel, it's an epic poem, which means it wasn't even made to be read in the form of a book. It was originally meant to be performed as poetry in front of an audience. And this version we were able to read today is a sort of stitch of different performances, different notes, supposedly some notes that belonged to Homer himself, and pretty much any material we could find across historical documents. And the reason why it matters so much is that since it wasn't meant to be consumed in the format of a book, then unsurprisingly, you can find some really weird elements, like, for example, so many repetitions of the phrase, dawn, fresh and rosy-fingered. If you've read the Odyssey, you might be sick of that phrase by now. If you haven't, this phrase and similar phrases, like, for example, whenever they mention Odyssey, they often add on some kind of epithet, like Odysseus, the sucker of cities, or godlike Odysseus. Phrases like that that keep repeating throughout the story and to some readers might be a bit annoying or get boring over a period of time. They were meant to, well, first of all, give a sort of structure to the performance, and it also made it easier for the performer to tell the story, since it was a kind of mnemonic device that they used to keep track of the story, that they used to keep the rhythm, because the oral performance was also recited to some background music. And all of that is also the number one reason why it's so difficult to read this book. Because the story is actually really interesting, and it's an amazing feeling to read fiction that was made so long ago. You really feel like you're a part of some ancient myth, like you're reading some ancient story of a different time. Because at the end of the day, you pretty much are doing that. But the structure is unlike your usual novel. It's not as simple and not as engaging. Some sentences or paragraphs are really drawn out, and it's very easy to lose track of what exactly is happening in the story. So it's not a light read that you can just pick up, chill out in the park, and just completely get drawn into the story. It will require some effort and a lot of focus to keep track of what's happening. The second point I want to mention is some other assumptions you might have about the story. Pretty much everyone is familiar with the tale of Odysseus, who wants to reach his home in Ithaca, and the challenges he meets on the way, like the Cyclops, Scylla and Charybdis, the witch Circe, and all of the highlights of the story that we are so familiar with. Well, you might be surprised that when you actually reach for the Odyssey and you start reading the story, it takes quite a while before we even get to Odysseus and where he is and what's happening. Because the beginning of the Odyssey is not even about Odysseus, it's about his son Telemachus. He's dealing with all of the suitors that wish to marry Penelope, Odysseus' wife, and those suitors are squandering the riches of Odysseus, and they're unruly, they're making a mess, they're very rude to Telemachus, and Telemachus himself cannot drive all of them out since he's simply too weak. Then he gets visited by Athena and he's searching for the news of his father, and so on and so on. I usually avoid giving spoilers in my reviews, but since the Odyssey is so famous, pretty much everyone already knows what happens. And even when we finally get to Odysseus, you will still find that there is not as much action as you might expect from what you've heard about the story. There is a lot of drawn-out speeches, there are a lot of descriptions where Odysseus is visiting some kind of kingdom, and in general it's not a book that will take you through a simple adventure from point A to point B and some obstacles and a lot of action and character development along the way. So now that we got those expectations out of the way, you might be wondering whether the Odyssey is worth reading at all, and probably whether I enjoyed it. Well, while it was difficult to get through, especially for a non-native speaker ordering a copy in English, it provided a kind of magical feeling of getting lost in a myth. As someone who grew up reading Percy Jackson, seeing those repeating characters and monsters, and even some full scenes that were inspired by the Odyssey was really exciting. And also learning more about this ancient culture and seeing a completely different approach to a story, I think all of that in general makes it worth reading eventually. The reason I say eventually is because I don't want you to immediately go and order a copy of the Odyssey, because you might have clicked on this video searching about some more information about the Odyssey because you're reading it for school, or maybe you came here after watching the new Odyssey movie that is coming soon, or maybe you've heard about the controversy and the hype and you decided to research the Odyssey a bit and this got recommended to you. In those cases, you might not be an avid, habitual reader. And if you haven't been reading many books lately, if you're not a regular reader, then this book will be absurdly boring and really difficult to get through and might even put you off from reading books for the next couple of months. And even if you are someone who loves reading, I would still say proceed with caution. But if you're looking for a challenge and you're really invested in Greek mythology, then yes, it will be something that you will find worthwhile. I can't promise it will be enjoyable, but at the very least, you will feel quite proud after finishing it. Thanks for listening, I hope you enjoyed it, and if you want some more content about books, stories, and a bit of philosophy, then follow the channel, and if you're already a fan, you might want to join my Backstage newsletter, where I share some more thoughts about the topics I talk about in these videos, and sometimes some backstage info and updates about how I produce these videos and what's coming for the channel. See you guys next time.